Hey guys, Ricky here. Sorry for the delay in the video this week. I was having some major upload issues and decided to just can it and go on to another one. So this time I have more images to work through with you, and I hope that you find this helpful. So this week we are exploring motion in camera, and I've had a lot of fun practicing through this, and it's just like a really fun creative endeavor you can go on, um, and getting this kind of work done in camera versus in Photoshop, which would be much more painstaking and much less fun. So I was working with panning first with a main subject. So the idea of panning is usually, if you're in this on a city street or there's people walking by or cars going by, but I didn't have that opportunity to do that, so I decided to just have my son riding his bike, and he, it was kind of a fun opportunity to test out this method of panning. So as you can see, oops, sorry, I just had him riding in front of me. I was using my 70 to 200 millimeter lens, and at 1/25th of a second, f22 and ISO 100, and basically he would ride from the right to the left, and I would just take my camera, have my settings ready to go, and I would start sweeping, and by the time he was right in front of me, I clicked the shutter and then kept going all the way through to the left so that I could complete that motion and without losing the stabilization. And it turned out to be a lot of fun. So this was a photo I let the original preset that I made last week for the Do Me First of just all the basic things I wanted already done, including auto toning. Here was the before, here's the after, and I had a little bit of fun with split toning here and colors, and color profile here. In the new update of Lightroom, they have Adobe Portrait, Color Landscape, Standard Vivid, and Monochrome. I don't often mess with these too much, and usually I'll just leave it at standard, but you can tell just ever so slightly. If we zoom in here, come on. There we go. How it kind of changes the color profile just a tiny bit. That one's obviously much more dramatic, and it just kind of tells the colors, how intense to be, what kind of contrast to have. In this case, standard is a little softer than portrait, more contrast, as you can see, monochrome option. So that was kind of just a fun, easy tool. If that's a little overwhelming for you, I would just leave it in standard, or, put it on whatever profile fits the scene, the photo that you have. So this was really fun. The idea of this panning shot, however, you have the motion blur in the background, but it also freezes the subject, so they should be relatively in focus. It's not crystal clear, and that's okay, because the idea of this is just to kind of have the feeling of movement. And obviously these were not ideal settings, but I was working with what I had, and this worked pretty good. I'm very happy with this image. This is one of my favorites out of like the 100 or so I practice with taking, which is kind of the goal for these photos, is that you really do have to practice quite a bit to get them to be exactly what you want. So here we have, this is just what is called a seascape motion blur, or just a water panning landscape, whatever you would like to call it. And so this was really fun. I got this idea from ST Images, and I just really loved it. I don't have the ocean super close by, but we do have the Puget Sound, and I had a lot of fun practicing this, and I just waited for the sun to go down. And then here is the before image. You can see how dirty my sensor is. I'm going in to get it cleaned, but I did not know until I had f22 up, by having my aperture up, and I saw, then everything's clear, so I see all of the spots on my lens, my sensor, and oh, it was terrible. I was so sad. So I'm setting that in to get cleaned this week, but I was able to correct enough that it's not that big of a deal. These were just for fun. Thankfully, these were not, photos I'm being paid to take. That would have been much worse. But this was really fun to practice with, and it just kind of gives, a fun spin on a landscape. Here I really played with the colors a bit, and I wanted to see just kind of how I could enhance it to get this like kind of soft, colorful landscape look. If the spots on the lens on the sensor, are too bothersome, you can see where I kind of just had a heyday and I just bubble fixed it all. I just used this spot removal tool. I could obviously go in and do a much more thorough job, but it's not that big of a deal. I'm just, like I said, I'm glad I'm aware of it before I do have a paid shoot to deal with. So it was fun practice. I got to go, and I did take some others. This is another one that I really liked. And one of the things I noticed with motion blur is number one, having a tripod is key. It really helps, at least in landscapes. Like the one with my son riding, I did this by hand. It probably would have been even more clear with his face had I been using a tripod, but again, I was really happy with this either way. But as far as these landscapes, because you want the horizon to be pretty straight, you really need to use a tripod. And I also went from using my hand on the shutter to using a remote, so that all I had to do was pan the camera and I was able to time it and take a succession of shots better. So having it on continuous high release mode helped a ton. And I just love the look, the way the water, just kind of has a soft ripple. It's like a long exposure, but not, it was so great. So then here was an unedited version, or mostly unedited. These are, again, just the presets were done. So we'll start with leveling this out, almost. I did not love this one quite as much, but I figured it'd be fun to kind of show you how I want to go about editing this to make it a worthwhile sunset. I didn't get a really incredible sunset each night, but, if there's color there, you can bring it out, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, especially in a landscape, because, the whole point is to have it be, just beautiful and dramatic, and it's nice to feel like it was worth your time to get out there and shoot. So I don't find anything wrong with some color manipulation here. And you can go any direction, but I do like to keep it semi-true to, what I saw, maybe just a little slightly better, at least what I was hoping for. Fix some of these spots. You can kind of see where sometimes they don't do a super good job at matching the color spot. So that's where you can just go in and adjust that by your eye a little bit better. Oops. Sometimes it's not even worth it, sometimes it is. In this case, this is a hard lesson learned. Go get my camera cleaned a little bit more often. So like, this is fun. I think I love the colors of this. This is, a lot better than that. And it's a fun take. I think it's just a fun twist on a landscape, on a sunset, something unique and different to add to your portfolio. And a great way to really practice your skills for landscape imagery and the capabilities of your camera. I listened to a podcast this week where this new photographer was on the show that usually has a lot of seasoned photographers talking about their experiences, and she was just talking about how she wanted to capture these sunsets and just couldn't quite get it right because she didn't know X, Y, or Z, and it was so hard to hear that because it's, it just takes a little bit of research and information to learn, how to capture some pretty things, and just practice. And it's just like this, right? Like, I'm just out here practicing, and I'm a thorough researcher, or here I am with these videos for you guys just to kind of chat through my process and show you how I'm editing them, and it just made me sad to hear her say that, I just, like, come take my class. I will teach you how to do it. I just, I want you guys to all know how to take some beautiful sunset pictures, and, then when you're ready, we'll step it up, and you'll get some fun motion blur get some good panning in your, your sunset repertoire, and yeah, it was so fun. It was such a good experience, and don't let not knowing your camera hold you back, because it's such an easy fix. Reading your manual is maybe not the funnest thing ever, but um, it's just a quick little practice session with your camera. It's just learn how it all works. It's great. Um, so like to go from that to that is really fun. Here was one I shared right away that I absolutely loved. One of the things that was kind of sad, besides my dirty sensor, that I feel like I was missing out on not being at the ocean, is that we do have this horizon line of trees and buildings, and it just leaves this dark band through the center, which is fitting. This is a Pacific Northwest. There's always going to be trees somewhere, at least so I can get out to the ocean. But I softened it up a little, so it almost kind of looks like some dark clouds. But I just liked that little twist on making that work. And this one turned out so smooth. Another trick in panning when you're doing it, a lot of the effect, besides your shutter speed, is how fast you're panning across and stability. So here you can see this was pretty darn stable. It's very smooth with the horizontal lines. I did move from manual mode, which I usually shoot in, to shutter priority, and that helped a lot with just constantly, knocking the shutter speed down so that I could just keep perfecting the process, and trying different speeds. You can see here I'm at 1/50th of a second, here I'm at 1/8 of a second, so it was really fun to just try different things and just keep shooting in different ways. Here was the before, even that I think is still pretty great. And here was the after, where I kind of beefed up those colors a little bit. And here was another before. This one was not fantastic, but I just really wanted to show you kind of, the range of practice. This was another night where I took a number of photos and just kept shooting, just kept having a good time. And I mean, I could have stayed out there until there was, honestly, I wanted to stay out until the the city lights came on around me, and I could get even more, go from panning to long exposures, and just having some fun with it. This was just a great time. Just really soaking in the rest of our summer days. And take this spot removal lesson as a note to yourself to not let your sensor get this dirty. I did try to clean it between the first images that I showed you to this one, and it is a little bit better, but it was still enough that like you can still see a number of spots, and I was not thrilled, but I still wanted to shoot, and I have to wait till next week to go get it fixed anyway, so I wasn't gonna let it hold me back. So just really pretty, really fun. And then I went from that to just doing kind of a long exposure. I did not have my polarizer lens on me, and I wish I would have, because it would have made this a lot more dramatic of a long exposure as the sun was going down. But I did enjoy, kind of playing with that, with what I could. With long exposures, especially when there's still light in the sky, you can only go down so far to get the water to smooth out, because there's still a lot of light. So that's where, if I'd had my polarizer or my ND filter on the lens, then I could have gotten a longer exposure and more smoothness in the water from having a long exposure. So that was kind of a bummer that I didn't have it on hand, but I still enjoyed getting a few fun shots anyhow. And then I'm just kind of like toning down the brightness in the sky over there, adding some color, a little drama. And get some color in there. I tend to find the tone curve, especially when you start messing with the individual colors, to be a little overwhelming. I do not always do this, but I will for landscapes like this, because it's a little more forgivable. especially if I'm trying to bring out colors, which I am in this particular photo. This one was kind of hard because there was a lot of texture. The water did not smooth out as much as I would have liked, and the clouds were pretty dramatic, so I didn't really love how the colors kept coming out as I've been adjusting this. But I did still like the photo. You know, it was kind of just a shift because this is literally the same spot, the same scene. It's composed a little differently, but it's not bad. I actually don't like the way that this graduation filter has kind of affected the clouds versus this really bright sky. So I'm going to delete that and show you another way that I would edit this portion. I'm going to go over here to this brush tool, bring the brush up as big as it can go to cover most of the frame. Select that area, press O to see the areas it's going to change, and then press O to see what adjusts here. So again, I just want to bring down these highlights, bring down a touch of exposure, and then I really want to bring out some of the pink and orange color tones that were in the sky. It's pretty yellow, which I actually like. We have some fun contrast, but I feel like I need to soften the yellows and oranges here. And let's bring that back over. Kind of play with some of the other tools and see what options are there. You know, sometimes things affect a lot, sometimes they don't affect any. Oops. There we go. Too much. Alright. So I'm happy with this. I think this is a fine point. And the clouds, like I said, they were already pretty dramatic and a lot of texture, so I don't want to add to it. I really like this dehaze tool. I've been using this a lot lately, even in landscapes, to really change kind of that intensity of drama. You do want to be careful, as with anything, and only use it so much so that it's not, you know, ruining the quality of your photo. But it's just fun to see what options are out there. And then this last one, I turned away from the horizon, and I wanted the moon. Of course, the clouds came right in at that same time. And I was hoping for more lights, but again, no ND filter, so this wasn't too bad. You can see my settings in the top left there. This is a before, this was the after, and that was just a really fun shot. Same thing on tone curves, and then everything else is the same. It's, you know, I don't spend too long on any photos, but enough to just, you know, give you an impact and have fun with it. So I hope that you found this helpful. I hope that you're able to get out and enjoy panning and exploring some motion blur in camera. These are all things that you can adjust and do in Photoshop, but that also takes time and is not nearly as fun as getting out and shooting and practicing it in person and watching the sunset and you know, just enjoying the process of, you know, challenging your skill set and trying some new things while you're out shooting on location. So I hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you next week.